7 numbers. That's all it took. 7 numbers scribbled on the back of a dry cleaning receipt, tucked into the wallet of a 52-year-old plumber from Modesto, California. By the end of that night, those 7 numbers were worth $1.14 million, and the pit boss at the Golden Antler casino in Reno was on the phone with corporate, asking if anyone knew how to legally back off a roulette player who wasn't doing anything wrong. Let me take you back. March 18th, 2007, a Sunday. The kind of Sunday where nothing is supposed to happen because nothing ever does. A guy named Ellis Rutherford, his friends called him Rudy, climbs into his 15-year-old pickup truck outside a 2-bedroom rancher in Modesto and points it east toward Nevada. His wife, Denise, is asleep. His 2 kids are grown and gone. He's got a thermos of black coffee, half a pack of spearmint gum, and $1,100 in cash zipped into the inside pocket of a Carhartt jacket. He also has a receipt from Fernando's Cleaners. On the back of that receipt, in blue ballpoint, are the numbers 3, 18, 19, 54, 22, 6, and 11. His birthday, his wife's birthday, his anniversary, his youngest daughter's birthday, and his own age because he was superstitious about round decades and he'd just crossed one. Rudy wasn't a gambler, understand that. He'd been to Reno maybe 4 times in his entire adult life, and every trip was tied to a wedding, a funeral, or somebody else's bachelor party. He didn't play cards, he didn't understand craps. Slots gave him a headache. The one game he sort of liked was roulette, because the wheel was pretty and the rules were something a plumber could hold in his head between spins. Here's the thing, Rudy wasn't chasing a jackpot, he was chasing a dream, literally. 3 nights in a row that same week, he'd woken up at 4 in the morning gasping, with the exact same image behind his eyes. A roulette wheel spinning under yellow lights, and a woman's voice, one he didn't recognize, saying his own street address to him like it meant something. 3rd dream, he sat up in bed and told Denise he was driving to Reno on Sunday. She asked how much he planned to lose. He said $1,100. She said fine, as long as it stops at $1,100. He promised her it would. He pulled into the Golden Antler around 2 in the afternoon. Now, the Golden Antler, I want you to picture the place, was one of those mid-tier Reno properties that was already dying in 2007. Threadbare carpet, that cigarette and air freshener smell every old casino floor has. Maybe 40 tables running, half of them cold. It's since been demolished and turned into a parking structure, but back then it was still holding on, and on a slow Sunday afternoon it was the kind of place a stranger could sit down and play for 6 hours without anybody paying much attention. Rudy took a seat at a $5 roulette table in the corner. The dealer was a woman in her 40s named Marlene, according to the account she gave later. He put down $400 in cash. She colored him up into pink chips. And then he did something the pit didn't clock as unusual, because 100 people a day do the same dumb thing. He pulled a piece of paper out of his wallet, smoothed it on the felt, and started making the exact same bets over and over. Straight up on 3, straight up on 18, straight up on 19, straight up on 22, straight up on 6, straight up on 11, and a split covering 53 and 54, because 54 doesn't exist on a roulette wheel and he'd had to improvise. 7 bets a spin, $5 each, $35 a spin, into a wheel with a house edge of 5.26% on an American 00. The math says he loses $1.84 per spin on average, forever. On $400 of bankroll, he's supposed to be tapped out inside a couple of hours. Except, first hour nothing hits. He's down to 210. He pulls another 200 out of his jacket, hands it over. Marlene gives him a look. Not concern, just the professional glance a dealer gives a guy she's read as a small-time tourist about to donate. Second hour, 18 hits, straight up. Pays 35 to 1. He's suddenly up almost a full stack. He doesn't press the bet, doesn't change the numbers, doesn't do a single thing different, just keeps grinding those same 7 positions. 20 minutes later, 6 hits. Then 4 spins after that, 11. Then, in the space of 9 spins, 3 and 22 both come in. By 4 in the afternoon, Rudy Rutherford, plumber from Modesto, is sitting on $19,000 in pink and yellow chips, and Marlene has quietly signaled to the pit that they've got a warm one. Now, here's where a normal player donates it all back, because a normal player, once he tastes $19,000, starts thinking. He starts pressing bets, he starts adding numbers, he starts trusting his gut, and his gut, inside a casino, is the worst piece of equipment a human being was ever born with. Rudy didn't do that. Rudy kept betting $5 a number, because $5 was what Denise had authorized. $5 was the deal. The pit boss on shift was a guy named Curtis Alameda. Curtis had been on the floor 26 years, and later, when a small trade magazine did a write-up on this session, he said the thing that stuck with him wasn't the wins, it was the discipline. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, that in a quarter century he'd never watched a hot player refuse to press. Not once. Rudy was up 19 grand, and he was still pushing $35 in chips out for each spin. Like a metronome. 6 p.m. rolls around. Marlene goes on break. A new dealer comes in. The wheel gets rotated to a different table under Nevada procedure. Doesn't matter. The numbers keep coming. 19 hits twice inside an hour. 3 hits again. 53. That split he'd forced onto 54's non-existence cashes in and pays 17-1 because it was a split, not a straight up. By 9 p.m., Rudy is sitting on $412,000 in chips. And this is where the story gets strange, because that's the exact moment Rudy starts crying. Not big sobs, just tears running down his face while he keeps pushing chips forward. Curtis Alameda walked over personally at that point, asked him if he was okay, asked him if he wanted to color up and go get some dinner on the house. Rudy said, no thank you, he wasn't hungry, and he needed to keep going because he wasn't done yet. Curtis asked him what he meant by that. Rudy said the woman in the dream hadn't finished talking. Now, I want to pause here for one honest aside, because these stories always make casinos look like carnival rides, and they aren't. Personally, if I ever play, it's only rooms I've vetted myself, licensed operations where the cage pays out in an hour and support actually picks up the phone, because I've been ghosted enough times to know the difference. Where exactly I left in the description. Back to Rudy. 10:45 p.m. The number 22 hits for the third time that night. Curtis is now standing behind the dealer with 2 suits from surveillance flanking him, because at this point, the eye in the sky has been watching Rudy for 4 straight hours, and they cannot find a single thing wrong with him. He isn't past posting. He isn't touching chips after the ball drops. He isn't signaling anyone. He isn't even drinking. He ordered 1 iced tea 4 hours ago, and it's sitting there sweating and untouched. He's just a plumber winning money. 11:11 p.m. And I promise this detail was in the surveillance timestamp. Curtis mentioned it specifically. The ball lands on 11. Rudy has a $5 chip straight up on 11. It pays $175. It's the smallest hit of the night mathematically, but Rudy stands up, wipes his face with the back of his wrist, and tells the dealer he's done. Color up. Final count at the cage, $1,142,610. From an initial buy-in of $600 in cash, over roughly 8.5 hours of play, betting the same 7 positions every single spin at $5 a number. The house edge did not vanish that night. The math didn't break. What happened was pure variance, the ugly, beautiful truth about roulette, which is that on any given evening, a wheel can betray a casino as cheerfully as it usually feeds them. Curtis Alameda told the trade magazine that over the following 6 months, that same wheel gave the house back every penny Rudy took, and then some. The universe collects. It just doesn't collect on your schedule. Now here's a question, and I want you to actually answer it in the comments, because it splits every room I've ever asked it in. If you had that dream, the wheel, the woman, your own address and a stranger's voice, 3 nights running, do you drive to Reno? Or do you roll over and go back to sleep and never wonder what would have happened? There's no right answer, but it's the answer that tells you who you are. The Golden Antler paid Rudy out in a cashier's check. Standard procedure over $10,000. He didn't ask for a comp room. He didn't ask for a steak. He walked out to the parking lot, sat in his 15-year-old pickup, and called his wife at 1 in the morning. Denise picked up on the second ring. He told her they weren't going to have to worry about the second mortgage anymore. She thought he was drunk. He said he wasn't. He said he'd explain in the driveway. Then he drove home, 6 hours through the Sierras. Cashier's check in the inside pocket of that same Carhartt jacket. Same jacket the receipt had come out of that morning, feeling like nothing at all. Here's what got me when I first pulled this story apart. Rudy never went back, not once. Denise wouldn't let him, and this is the part I like, he didn't want to. He said in the one interview he ever gave that the woman in the dream had stopped visiting after that Sunday. He said whatever it was, it had come, said what it needed to say, and gone. And he wasn't going to insult it by asking for more. We've got another episode on the channel about a blackjack player in Atlantic City who negotiated the house edge down to nothing over a series of high-limit sessions. Very different kind of story, very different kind of man, well worth your time. If you like this style of story time, you know what to do. But I want to leave you with the thing Curtis Alameda said at the end of that trade write-up, because I've never been able to shake it. He said in 26 years on the floor, he'd learned there are two kinds of winners. There's the kind who beats the math, and there's the kind who the math, just for one night, decides to let through the door. Rudy Rutherford was the second kind. So tell me, the 7 numbers on the back of a dry cleaning receipt, skill, luck, something else entirely? The comments are yours.